What's one of the most difficult things in business, and what's one of the costliest things in business for small business owners? I would say it's having the wrong employees, having the wrong people on your team, and unfortunately keeping them around too long. And it's one of the most difficult things, and something that most of us don't really like. My name is Robert Poole, and today I'm going to talk to you about how we handle getting rid of the employees that aren't a fit for our company. Basically terminations. How do we fire somebody, without stressing ourselves out, without stressing them out, and make it as smooth as a process as it can be? Because nobody likes being involved in it, but it's a necessary part of business. And there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. But first of all, let's start here. Think about the costs of a bad hire and having the wrong person. Again, and this is not that the person is bad for anything. So as I'm talking through this whole thing, we're not talking about the person themselves, their value as a human being or anything like that. We're talking about they're a bad fit for the company, and so they need to go. But you think about it. You've got the financial side of it. If we hire the wrong person and we've got the wrong person working there, it costs, like I've talked about some of my other hiring videos, it costs an enormous amount of money, probably their annual salary and more to make a bad hire. And, you got to think about things like salary, benefits, even the logistics, office space, software, computer licensing, all the little stuff that adds up. And those costs can add up. You've got things that you don't really see, or don't think about, unemployment taxes, when we used to have a lot of turnover at our company, our employment tax rate just kept going up and up and up. And finally, it was like maxed out. I don't remember what the rate was, but it's enormous. And since we've kind of figured this out, it's dropped down to very, very little. And it's because of the turnover. And that's, at least in Arizona, that's how the tax rate's calculated for unemployment taxes. So you've got all these little, financial things that, that kind of get you, but you think about, other stuff that's kind of hidden, that you don't think about. And it's, the things like, if you got to replace this person, think about how much you've gotten or you put into hiring them. We talked about hiring in, some previous sessions, they talked about, and the effort that you have to go through to hiring somebody, the time and the money, both for you personally, if you're doing the, the interviewing and the hiring process, if you've got your team involved in it, so it's a huge cost of the money you've already spent on them. And so you have to fold that into when you're firing them. It's even more expensive. And that's when, you kind of cut it off. You figure out, geez, I trained this person. I spent months with them, all these things, and now I got to fire them, so it's expensive, and it's expensive to keep them around. And also, we're going to talk about this more, but, employee morale, if this can really affect your team. And, I even, would term it as it's sort of a cancer in your business, having the wrong people on your team, because it can really destroy morale and kill production with other employees. It can ruin, your credibility with other employees, the turnover with people, can be increased by, having bad employees and again, not bad people, but bad or poor fits, I'll say it that way. And then of course there's major stress on you personally if you're doing the terminating. It was, I had a business partner for, almost 20 years, and we kind of all handled different roles at the company. And, his personality was kind of the teddy bear. Everybody loved him, and I was the grumpy dude who sat in the back room. And you knew that if you were in trouble if you got called back to Robert's office, because, you wouldn't believe the number of, instant messages I got when I tell somebody to come back and see me. I'd be like, am I getting fired? And that was my job because I did all the terminating. Boy, it sucks. The stress of it, used to just kill me because, for a variety of reasons, but it's very uncomfortable, and that stresses you out as a business owner. So again, the hiring process, the terminating process done wrong is extremely stressful. And I know personal experience because I did it for many, many years. But I'm going to show you some ways that you can do that where it eliminates that stress on you and the person that's actually getting let go. So, and that brings up, another point, you've got to think about, the gravity. So I have to write stress down here, but the gravity of what we're doing here, just from a human standpoint, if you've got employees working for you, salary based, whatever, those people have lives and they have families that they're supporting. They've got mortgage to pay or rent to pay. They've got to pay their car payment, all that good stuff. When they suddenly lose that income, it's like, boy, if you've been there, you know what that's like. And so we got to be, take this pretty seriously when we're hiring people and when we're letting them go, because we know this is a big deal. From human to human, we want to minimize, anything that is really going to turn somebody's life upside down. If you're one of those people that just, enjoys hiring or, excuse me, terminating people, well, this is not the video for you. But I think most of us, realize, the gravity of what we're doing and how it affects people. Of course, it makes it easier when, somebody is, provided all the reasons that you should terminate them. And that brings me to, the next question, is, how do we, why do we have to fire them? And there's really three categories of people. Where'd my eraser go? There it is. There's, I would say what did I call it? The bad behavior people. And this video is not about them. We're not talking about how we get rid of these people, because these are the people that most of us have no problem firing. But even then, it can be a little stressful. Give an example. We had a caller once that, called a prospect, and apparently the call didn't go well. It was a cold call, and he told the prospect that, he was going to come over to his office and kick his butt and beat him to a pulp, So, obviously, as a company, we can't have one of our employees telling somebody that they're going to come over and, kick their butt or whatever, So that was like a no-brainer, And we've had other people do crazy stuff, over the years. So, and then that's obviously an instant firing. Is not even a question, So I'm not talking about those. That's not really our thing here. What we're talking about is people that are in the lack of skill set, position. Skill set. This can be people that, they may have certain skill sets and they may be good at something, but because we didn't do, the hiring process completely properly, and see my hiring videos on that, we end up with somebody that doesn't quite have the skill set that, we're looking for and that fits the job that we're having them do, or maybe the job changes over time. Let's face it, everybody pads their resumes and says how great they are. We don't do a proper vetting of them during the hiring process. We can end up with people that their skill sets don't match what they said they were. And then there's, it's not really a skill set thing, but these are your, I don't know what you would say, sort of your not responsible people. These are the shows up every day late, takes 3-hour lunches, whatever, what I'm talking about, the people that are just not right. And then there's also, sort of your bad culture fits, if you will. If you've seen my videos on company culture and how important that is, if we have the wrong people that don't fit the company culture, that's really going to destroy us from the inside out. So we've got to part ways with them. And so if they don't, they're not a bad person, maybe even their skill set's great. They fit perfectly and they're able to do what we need them to do, but they just don't fit with the vibe of the company. They don't fit the culture. They don't get along well with other employees, whatever. So, and then of course there's always company related factors. You have nothing to do with the person. Reasons why we have to get rid of people, maybe the economy took a dump, in 2008 or during COVID or whatever, there were lots of layoffs and it was not because anybody did anything wrong. It was just the economy with the, in the dumps, and, companies had to do something. A company might be struggling financially. They may decide to go to a different direction. They may decide they're going to start selling different products or services, or they're going to eliminate a division or whatever, that's what you see at large companies, and at small businesses, we have to be flexible. We have to change constantly, keep up with the market. And so sometimes that means that, we completely stop doing something that we did before. And guess what? We've got employees who are doing those things, and their skill set doesn't translate to the new stuff we're doing. So, unfortunately, we got to let them go and find somebody else, So it's nothing, personal with the employee. So there's sort of those external factors. So I'm going to call them that, external. So if we know those are kind of the categories we fall in, again, we're not talking about the bad behavior people. We're talking about skill sets or company-related factors. The problem is that if we wait to take care of this, if we let it go on, not only is it very costly, like we talked about, but the biggest thing is morale. I mean, you can literally destroy your company from the inside. And unfortunately, I've come across this, and we had an employee that was causing a lot of problems years ago, and I didn't deal with it quickly enough because for various reasons. Part of it is because let's face it, I hated doing it. Person was a nice person. I liked them personally and everything. But it absolutely just ate us alive from the inside. It started affecting other team members. When this person would show up late and take 3-hour lunches, everybody else is like, well, if they're showing up late and taking 3-hour lunches and Robert doesn't seem to care, it's like, well, why am I showing up on time? The productivity went down, the tension went up, and all the things that you don't want in a company. So we've got to do this quickly. If we see a problem, we've got to deal with it. We can't put it off and procrastinate. Again, because it costs us money and all that. So what's the sort of traditional way you're supposed to fire somebody? Call them into the office and, well, Mary, I'm sorry, but, we're just going to have to part ways or whatever because, you didn't do this project right. You screwed this up. You're incompetent and, we don't like you. I'm joking. But, point is we're listing out all the reasons that, they suck, that is, and that's the way I did it for many years, being that, the Terminator in the back room, boy, does that set up an amazingly confrontational way to do it, and, you get two reactions. You either have somebody who will fight with you and say, no, I'm not, I did this right, da, da, da. Or you'll have people who won't say anything, but quietly they're thinking, I'm going to kill you, later, type of thing, and they'll hate you. But either way, they're going to badmouth you, badmouth the company. And these days, reputation is very important. So, if we allow them to go out there, if we give them fuel to the fire, allow them to go out there and badmouth us, it's most people who get let go are probably not going to have a warm and fuzzy about our company anyway, but they are really going to be ticked if we tell them and we attack them what they consider personally. And it doesn't matter, if it's the truth that they screwed up this project and they couldn't do this right and they did this and they did this poorly with a client or whatever. It doesn't matter if that's the truth. From their perception, most people are not going to go, you know what, you're right, I suck. I can see why you're firing me. It doesn't happen. It's just human nature. So, so we're just asking for a confrontation. We're asking for people to badmouth us, which is the last thing we want in the marketplace. So, and then finally, like we talked about, the gravity of it, it's the wrong thing to do as far as I'm concerned, is from human being to human being. It's like there's so much negativity in this world, and it's going to be hard enough for them to get a new job and struggle financially in the meantime. Most people don't have tons of savings, and so it's like, they get fired, they got to get a job ASAP, or they're going to, run out of cash and not be able to pay their mortgage or their rent. And so, we're adding fuel to that. We're making it even more difficult by, telling them they suck and creating that negative experience on top of the financial problems that they're going to have. So, from human being to human being, like I said, unless you really hate that person, and they fall into this category and you don't have a lot of sympathy for them, we really want to do the best we can not to leave somebody in that state. So, question is, you got all this, so, what do you do? Well, it comes back to, one of these things that I talked about, number 3 there, and that's the external factors. So the best way to handle it, in my experience, and when I changed this, it fundamentally changed the way, when we had to let somebody go. Fortunately, because of our hiring process, our longevity, is, our tenure is quite long these days, as in 5 or 6 years for the average employee. at our company, and some, much more than that. And it's because of the hiring process that I've talked about in other videos. But, of course, when I was the Terminator and firing everybody, we went from that to this new way of doing it. And it's like the stress relief on my part, the morale difference, the reaction we get from past employees, don't see them out there bad mouthing like they used to do when I would can them and tell them what a loser they were, basically. All those things, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, of course. So don't, get too excited about that. But, the point is, when I switched to doing it this way, it made a huge difference in everything with our company. So how do we do it then? If we don't tell them, you suck at these things or whatever, what do? Well, that's where we use these external factors. So instead of saying, you know what, you failed at this, this project was bomb, you screwed this up and this up and this up, we say, you know what, Mary, the company is going in a different direction. We're doing some different things. So we're going to have to eliminate your position. Nothing to do with you personally. I like you as a person, whatever. It's just that, the fact of what it is, the company just needs to make this change. And, I'm really sorry about this. Now, what's the difference between that and Mary, you suck and you can't do these, basic things or whatever? Well, she can look at it, and in her mind, it allows her to stay save-faced, and she can say, oh, well, mentally, it's nothing to do with me. It's not because I failed at this project or screwed this up or this or this. It's because, the company is going to make a strategic decision about, they're doing in a different direction or something. And what does that mean, going in a different direction? That can mean, again, anything, as far as, pursuing a different kind of opportunity, or maybe changing the culture of the company, whatever. You don't have to be specific on that. You don't owe them that. So that allows them to save face. When they go out in the marketplace and they're looking for another job, they're talking to their friends about the company they just got fired from. What are they going to say? Are they going to say, yeah, those jerks, they told me, that I screwed up this, but that's a lie. I did a great job for them and they got no excuse, blah, blah, blah. But if we say, the company's got, is moving in a different direction, whatever, they said, they're reorganizing, whatever, it's like they have no ammunition to badmouth us. It's just a third party that's, this company, so to speak, that had to do this. So it's not a personal thing. So they're not incentivized to jump on social media and start bad-mouthing us. And so I'm not suggesting here, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting we lie. And what I'm suggesting is that there are always external factors that have to do with our company that can elicit a change in what we're doing. Like I said, the economy, is a factor, the marketplace, how we're competing with other companies, the general direction and strategy of the company, the organization of the company, what's efficient, having this person, instead of having two people do two different things, maybe one person can effectively do both jobs, because neither one of the jobs are full-time, so to speak, So it's a realignment of it, So there's all these reasons, and I guarantee you can come up with a reason that is not personal, that's external to the person. And so, it doesn't negate the other things that they, like I said, they didn't have the skill set, they were doing things wrong, whatever, all those things, those are all true. But there's no need to tell them and pin them down on all those things. So all you're doing is omitting some of the things that they will take personally. And you're just using a legitimate but external factor that, again, allows them to save face and, keeps them from bad-mouthing the company, So, again, it's things that are outside of the person's control, outside of your control, so they don't blame you personally. You don't feel like a jerk because, it's very hard to sit there for most people to sit there and tell somebody, that they're a complete failure in all these ways, and talk about stress on you as an owner, it takes some thick skin, and that goes back to, like I said, the cost of not getting rid of, people because we're procrastinating, because we know let's face it, we don't want to do that. We understand the gravity of it, and, we don't want to deal with it. We have to kind of, okay, type of thing. And this allows us to eliminate that stress. And so, and this, again, takes the weight off them so that it doesn't become personal and it eliminates that bad mouthing. So, the bad, again, in summary, the bad fit employees, the ones that we just need to get rid of, not because they're bad people, whatever, but we need them to move on to something else. We can't allow them to become cancers in our business and destroy our businesses, not just for our own greed, but because it affects everybody at the company. It affects the morale, it affects the other employees. It affects your legitimacy as a leader. If people realize that you're not dealing with the problem that's there, it's like, how can they still respect you, and how can you lead them when they know you're, chicken to do something about this problem? It's extremely important in all these reasons, something we got to deal with, but it can be done the right way, not done, in a way that creates confrontation, creates bad mouthing, and is, bad from a human being standpoint. So I think if you try this, that you'll find out it really works, and it'll really help remove the stress and make, business a little bit easier, which is what we all want. So I hope you enjoyed this, got something out of it. Please, again, subscribe to the channel, hit that, little bell thing, and, share this with your friends and colleagues, because I think there's a lot of confusion on this. And I know when I started doing it properly, it really made a big difference. So hit that like button, all that good stuff. And I will talk to you in the next session.